Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's To Get Seen Hangout. I am Sean Adams, and I am the host of these Hangouts, and I have a special guest with me today, Mr. Robert MacPhee. Mr. Robert MacPhee, say hello to the peeps.
Hello, everyone. Thrilled to be here in the studio where it all happens.
Yeah, this is a little different setup than what you guys usually see. This is the interview section of the office, unlike the just Sean talking at you section of the office. So we're happy to have you guys joining us today, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Today, Robert and I are in here talking about one of the programs that we've helped work together to create, which is dailyupbeats.com, where we deliver positive music to your inbox every day, positive and inspiring music to your inbox every day. And we were coming up with some plans about how to expand that, get that into the hands of more people so more people can start their day in a positive way. And we had some really great brainstorming going on this morning, and today we're going to just be talking about Robert is the best-selling author of a book, Manifesting for Non-Gurus, which he has with him today, of course. That is the Magical Blue Book.
Quick and easy read.
And it's got a great journal that comes along with it to help you kind of really implement it. There we go. We brought both copies.
Brought a copy of that too.
So this is what we're going to talk a little bit about today. Is the topic of manifesting, what goes on with manifesting, why we were just discussing even the possible contemplation of wanting to change the title of the book, what's going on with manifesting and why what the issue is with that word and what's going on with that. But first, Robert, why don't you go ahead and just introduce yourself, say hello to everybody, tell them a little bit about yourself beyond what I've said so far.
Perfect. It's so interesting. I'm used to being on Sean's Hangouts, and I feel like I'm not even in the room with him. I just see him on the screen in front of us here. So it's a really weird dynamic, but yeah, Sean and I have been working on this project, the Daily Upbeats project, and really excited about what's going on with that. And I do think it's a great example of manifesting in terms of the way that it originally emerged and the way things have been going as we've moved forward with it. And certainly Sean and I both share a similar vision in terms of helping people start their day with positive, upbeat frame of mind, a heart set, as I call it. And music is a really important part of that. I actually originally came up with the idea because I didn't want to get out of bed one morning, and I thought, I need a theme song. And that was how this all got started, was giving people the opportunity to have that positive, inspiring, motivating, energizing piece of music every single day. My background, how I got into doing this work, I do coaching and consulting and speaking and training now, and got into that work after being an entrepreneur for many years, and getting exposed to personal and professional development work, having the opportunity to learn from and be mentored by Jack Canfield. I was Jack's director of training for about 4 years, worked with him for about 12 years in one capacity or another, and founding member of a group called the Transformational Leadership Council, which gave me the opportunity to be around some of the really amazing and most talented and knowledgeable and well-connected people in the personal and professional development industry, and gave me the opportunity to learn so much amazing information about just how we tick, how we do create the results that we create the experience that we create in our lives. And that was really the source of where the book came from, and where most of the work that I do now in again, coaching and speaking and facilitating groups, working with individuals and organizations to help them create the results and the experience that they want. And like Sean said, it's been interesting, kind of what led up to this conversation about manifesting. The word manifesting lands very differently with different groups of people. In a corporate environment, a business environment, I actually make a conscious effort not to use the word manifesting because it has this kind of woo-woo, magical thinking kind of feel to it. People think they're going to meditate their way to success. My approach to manifesting is not at all like that. I think it's something else that Sean and I really have in common, is we take a very practical, action-oriented approach to what manifesting is. And so again, I'm actually giving serious thought to changing the title of the book because of the way that it's received sometimes, and people don't think it's very practical when we talk about manifesting.
So help me understand a little bit about the way you define manifesting. What does it mean to you? So that we can at least have a starting point for that language, that word. And then we can talk about why it doesn't land the same way to some other folks, and maybe what are some of the other language you found that has worked to help explain it?
Well, and the way I define manifesting is that it's about attracting the results that we want into our lives and doing it more quickly and easily. The magical part of manifesting, the stories that we hear sometimes, are of the results that we want, the experience that we want, showing up in really amazing ways. Just, you know, they go to the mailbox and the check is there, or we pick up the phone and it's just the person we need help from. And we do hear those stories, and sometimes it can seem magical, but in my experience, if we kind of backtrack and look at what led up to that, there's always some very practical steps that happen before that. So the definition to me of manifesting is about attracting results quickly and easily. And the steps that I talk about in the book, and the steps that I encourage people to use the journal to stay connected to, are about, first of all, getting really clear about who you are, who I am in terms of my roles that I play, the skills and talents that I have, the contribution that I'm here to make, and on an even deeper level, like who I am at my core, my true self, is a really important part of manifesting, being clear in that area. The second thing we look at is our goals and intentions. Like what are the results that I want to attract, and making sure that people have a really clear vision of what it is that they really want, and that it is specific and measurable, and that they'll know whether they've got it or not once they get there. The third piece is about feelings and emotions. The real reason why we want to attract any of these results is because of the feelings and emotions behind them. So as part of our journal, we ask people to connect with the feelings and emotions associated with being healthier, or making more money, or being in the ideal relationship. There's a really powerful feeling reason behind any of those goals. The fourth step that we look at is called letting go of attachments. There's so many ways that we get in our own way. We start worrying about what other people will think. We start being in judgment. We try to do things ourselves. We try to have things happen now instead of the time they're intended to happen. All those types of things are attachments. And we work with people to let go of those attachments, get out of their own way, and then get on with the fifth and final step, which is taking what we call inspired action. Again, manifesting is not just sitting on the couch and meditating our way to success. It's about getting out there, taking action in order to manifest those results. And even when, I find even when the results are apparently magical, we see that if we backtrack, we see people that are really clear about who they are. They're clear about their goals and intentions. They're consistently in a feeling and emotional place that they want to be experiencing versus a state of fear and doubt and worry and anxiety and stress, or whatever it might be. And they let go of attachments and get out of their own way and consistently take action. That's usually what led up to those magical results that we sometimes see.
Yeah, I know. I learned that from that. There's kind of a simple equation I learned from T.R. Ecker about TFA equals R, and it's your thoughts become your feelings, become your actions, which equal your results. But ultimately, it starts with what is it that you're thinking about? How do you feel about it? And it is, are you having positive feelings about it? Because my understanding of manifesting is that basically the universe is going to give you whatever you're focusing in on. So if you're thinking about all of the debt you have, you're going to continue to have more debt. If you're thinking about abundance and what it's going to fit, how wonderful it feels to have abundance. And my take on this, and I've always explained this to people, my view on this is it's got to be done in personal, positive, and in the present. So it's got to be good, positive language. It has to be something that it's I am, not I wish to be. Mm-hmm. Because if you say I wish, you're just focusing in on the universe is going to let you just keep wishing for it.
Yeah, you'll always be on the path instead of actually arriving. Yeah.
So it makes sense. It seems very easy, but I also can see how it can be very airy-fairy and very kind of difficult. So like when you're working with a business or like professionals who may not be in what would be the new age kind of world where manifesting is normal, what reactions are you getting to the word manifesting, and what have you found that like is a way of reframing it so that it does make sense to a business professional, so that they still can get the benefits of what you talk about without it feeling weird per se?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'll give you a short answer to how the business and corporate world responds to the word manifesting. I end up kicked out of the room really quickly. I mean, they don't respond well to it at all. It doesn't land well at all. I want to go back to what you were saying about the thoughts and feelings and actions, because one of the things I see people getting themselves in trouble with a lot is they get around the personal development work, they learn the power of visualization, they learn the power of affirmations, and they're connecting to their thoughts and seeing that that can dictate their actions. But they don't always take it to that feeling level. And it's interesting because the feeling level is the kind of the slipperiest. It's the most airy-fairy, the most woo-woo, if you will. And yet it is, in my experience, the element that it's really important to get to and really connect with on a very practical, very real kind of level. And I see people all the time. I used to have this happen when I was working with Jack. People would read his book, The Success Principles, and they'd do their visualizations, they'd do their affirmations, and they weren't getting results. And they'd come up to me or they'd come up to Jack at one of our events and they'd say, I'm doing my affirmations, I have a pocket full of 3x5 cards and I read them every day, and I'm visualizing and I know exactly what I want, I'm disciplined and I do it, and I'm not getting my results. What's wrong? And I would think, what is the feeling and emotional experience that this person is bringing to the process? And words like stress and anxiety and fear would come up. And I believe in terms of the law of attraction, what they're doing is they're actually sending a message to the universe that says, please send me more fear and anxiety and stress, instead of send me more, abundance and wealth and success, because they never took it all the way to that level of feeling and emotion. So for people who are doing affirmations, which is the words, and they're doing visualization, which is the pictures in our minds that come from the words we write on the paper, I'm constantly telling people they need to take it that next step. They need to make sure to consciously take it all the way to that feeling and emotional state. And it's not that difficult to do. It's literally a matter of envisioning your goal, whatever it is, better health, better relationships, more money, and then asking yourself, how will that feel? How will it feel when I'm making the kind of money I really want to make? How will it feel when I'm in that ideal relationship? How will it feel when I reach my ideal weight? How does it feel? And literally allow yourself to experience those feelings and emotions. And that's where some of the truly magical things really start to happen. And then in answer to your question about what do I do in a business environment? For me, most of the time, it's very simple. I set aside the word manifesting and I replace it with the word mastery. Because mastery, to me, really means the same thing. It's about things happening quickly and easily without a lot of effort. We're able to just do things, it's mastery. It just happens as if magically. Again, there's steps leading up to it. But in the corporate and business world, the concept of mastering something, if you want to be a master salesperson or a master manager or a mastery at leading, whatever it is, people can really get their arms around it. So again, I'm thinking, I could potentially take my book and, just white out the part that currently says manifesting for non-gurus and switch it to, mastery in all areas of life or something. I don't know what it's going to be. But it would, I think, really resonate differently with people who are focused on business and career and financial goals as opposed to more spiritual or metaphysical kind of goals.
And the concepts in the book aren't any different. You wouldn't have to change it for mastery.
No, it's the very same thing. Because if you think about the people that are really successful in business, whatever area it might be, as a manager, as a leader, as a salesperson, and you look at those same 5 steps, the people who are successful are people who are very clear about who they are, like the roles that they play and their sense of contribution and all that. They're very clear about who they are. They have clear goals and intentions. They can tell you exactly what they're working on and where they're going. They're consistently experiencing the feeling and emotional state that they want to be experiencing. They're not getting caught up in what other people will think or judgments or needing it to happen now or needing to do it themselves. All those attachments that show up, people who are successful in business and career tend to set those things aside, get out of their own way. And there's certainly people who consistently take action. They're not sitting around waiting for things to happen. They're out there taking action. So it's the same steps, the same things that need to be in place in order to achieve mastery as it would be in order to manifest.
And I think the piece that I don't hear often, but I think is so central to success, is that removing the attachments piece. A lot of people, it's basically getting out of your own way.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And in terms of, like I said, my coaching is and facilitating groups and all that is really coming from these 5 principles that are in the book. And it very quickly comes down to letting go of the attachments, looking at how we're getting in our own way. When I'm working with people in a business environment, and they're entrepreneurs or they're business owners, and they want to, look at their systems and their structure and what they could be doing differently. If it's a part of a networking group or a mastermind group or a coaching situation, it isn't long before we realize that the number one thing that's getting in their way is that face they see in the mirror every single morning. It's the thoughts, the attitudes, the beliefs, in many cases, the limiting beliefs that we've taken on from some other source, from a previous job or from parents or coaches or teachers or clergy or whatever it is. We have these limiting beliefs about what's possible that get in our way. And it's those attachments. It is things like worrying about what other people will think. It is, thinking that we need to do it ourselves and not being willing to ask for help. All those kinds of things that come up immediately as soon as we set that goal and envision what it would be like. It's like, I always say, it's like a hurdles race, like you see in the Olympics. The hurdles just pop up. And our game as coaches is to help people to overcome those hurdles one at a time. And it's sometimes a little frustrating because your reward for getting over one hurdle is you get faced with the next hurdle. But it is the name of the game. It's the way things work. And in terms of getting out of comfort zones and stretching ourselves into those new experiences and getting the results we want, I see it over and over. People just need to be willing to take those hurdles one at a time.
And I like that analogy of the hurdles. I look at it from the fact that if you're running a 100-meter dash with hurdles, 90% of those hurdles that are going to pop up are going to be coming up from you and your own attachments and your own stories and your own experiences and your own stuff that you're sticking to it. There's still going to be 3 or 4 hurdles that exist there that are just life throwing hurdles in your way, that are normal hurdles. But the vast majority of the ones that are going to pop up in that are going to be ones that you've created for yourself anyway. And if you can move beyond those, get past that, it's going to make life a lot easier, and your dash is going to be a lot faster to success because you're not sticking as many hurdles in your way.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people spend big chunks of their life wishing there weren't hurdles. And the people who I see who are really successful, and I'm just thinking of my own situation right now and the things that I'm working on, I could really take my own advice on this one. But there's something about just accepting the fact that life is a hurdles race and not a sprint. And some people come to personal development, they come to coaching, they come to other areas of support, and they want to read a book, or they want to watch a DVD or go to a workshop and have all the hurdles be taken away. And my experience is that isn't the way it works. The hurdles are still going to be coming up. And the idea of mastery or manifesting is as much a game of getting really good at overcoming those hurdles as it is a matter of wiping those hurdles away. So it's just, you talk to people about their limiting beliefs and wanting to get rid of them. And I say, well, that's an interesting idea, but it's not going to happen. We can choose. My good friend and another mentor of mine, his name is Steve D'Annunzio, and I met him through the Transformational Leadership Council, and he taught me something really, really powerful, that we cannot change our thinking. We can't prevent thoughts from coming up, but what we can control is the amount of energy that we give them. So when, one of the things that showed up for me growing up in a huge way was comparing myself to other people. I have a brother a year older, a brother a year younger, and I spent my whole life comparing myself to my 2 brothers, and in a really ineffective way, because I would always lose. My older brother was the smart one, my younger brother was the athletic one, and I wasn't. That was my model. And it was all unconscious, and I don't know where it came from, and honestly, I don't really care where it came from. And it still shows up for me. I actually had dinner. I'm here in Northern California visiting with Sean, and I was visiting with my family. I had dinner with my brothers last night and my mom. And I noticed that still comes up, comparing myself to my brothers. But what I don't do anymore is give it so much energy. And that's one of the ways to overcome those hurdles. Like for me, it's still, I guess, arguably a hurdle, but it's a hurdle that I could just step over. I don't need to get a ladder to climb over it anymore. I can just step right over it easily and effortlessly. So it doesn't stop showing up, but it doesn't run me anymore. And I think that's the game of mastery or manifesting with those hurdles.
And I think this is an interesting thing, because you and I have talked a lot about we both worked within the personal development world in that field, and we have some issues at times with it. And I think what just came to me while you were talking is the fact that my biggest issue is that there's a lot of folks in personal development world who sell that life is a sprint. That, buy this because you're going to just get there, and ignore the fact that there are the hurdles. the really, really successful people don't sell life as a sprint. The really, really successful people sell, here's something that's going to help you with addressing the hurdles you're going to face. Because I know them, because I face them myself. Here's how to do it. That is where real success comes from, and those are the things you want to really look for, not the what we call shiny penny concept of chasing this because you think it's going to get rid of the hurdles. The hurdles are there, but like you said, you can shrink the hurdles down so you can just step over them. Or when you get those big ones, like, oh, look for the rope. Or I do a lot of mud runs when the weather's warmer, which is pretty much all the time here in Northern California. But and there's obstacles where like there's mud pits and things to get out of. And if I was just doing the course by myself, it would take me forever. But what happens is somebody stops at the top of the thing, they put an arm down, they pull you up, you stop, pull the next person up, and it's just this community thing of getting support through the obstacles or hurdles that you're facing. And that's where getting help, where coaches, consultants, things like that are important, and that's why we do what we do, is because we face those hurdles. At times, I think we both have scrambled over these hurdles on our own in a way that took much longer, much more pain, much more difficulty than if we had just said, oh wait, I know somebody who can help me, let's get some advice. Hey, can you reach your hand down to me and just pull me over this hurdle? Yeah. And that's why I do what I do. That's why you do what you do, is coaching and consulting and working with groups like that. So it's not about, there are no hurdles, there are no obstacles. It's about how can you navigate them most effectively? Yeah. And that's where I think mastery makes sense too, because ultimately I want to be, let's say I'm running a small business and my small business is shoe repair. I'm the shoe guy in town. Well, maybe I'm not really good at bookkeeping and keeping track of the money I'm bringing in. And so therefore my numbers never seem to go right, and I'm stressed over that, and I don't know how to do it. So you hire a bookkeeper, somebody who's got an expertise in that, and you focus in on doing your shoes. But they may not be able to realize that, be able to see that, or see the cost benefit, the return of investment on hiring a bookkeeper, because they're thinking, oh, that's money going out. But the 3 hours you spent worrying about how am I going to deal with my books is 3 hours you could have been promoting your business, doing shoes, whatever it is that you need to do, and the return on investment is much higher. But sometimes you need that coach, consultant to help get you to be able to look outside of the box that you're stuck in. Yeah. And so I think that makes sense. And that person's a master at repairing shoes. They're not a business master. Where some of these other folks who might be CEOs of large corporations really are masters at business, but they're not masters at getting out of their own way or working with their staff or whatever it is. And that's where you've got to learn to know what your skills are and master those, and get help on assistance and to do the things that you're not as good at doing. And I think that's where your book also is important too. It's not just about this is what I want, this is where I want to get to, but if you're consistently finding, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're consistently finding that you're having a negative feeling about this thing, let's say it's about like, these are the 20 things I should have, I want success for my business, and it's good bookkeeping, and it's good record keeping, and it's good marketing, and it's good customer service. And every time you get to one in your marketing and you're like, you just cannot get a good feeling about marketing, that might not be your skill. That may not be your expertise. And that's a place where you hire somebody else to build you a bridge over that hurdle instead. And so I think that's another piece of the book that isn't often discussed, but it can cause you to recognize the areas that you have those hurdles that you're building yourself.
Yeah, and the feelings and emotions are absolutely not only a powerful tool to tap into, but they're a powerful indicator of how we're doing now and what the real attachments and obstacles and hurdles, as we're talking about them here, are. Because when we imagine a level of business growth, or we imagine an ideal relationship, whatever it is, the feelings and emotions that come up are those hurdles. They tell us what those hurdles are. And it's just the mind doing what the mind does. You know, and one of the things I think that's most powerful that I've learned being around the work that I do now is the connection between our thoughts and then the actions and results that show up. And it is really, it's so amazing. It's so powerful. I'm also doing some work right now with schools, and I love sharing this information with students, with high school and college students who have been so focused on academics and memorization and absorbing information and getting tons of content. And for the most part, they haven't been given a lot of resources and information in the area of what we're talking about here with our thoughts and our feelings and our beliefs, and how that ultimately really determines the outcomes that are showing up in our lives. So, you know, I love sharing that with people. And again, the feelings and emotions, and on some level, and this has come up in conversations you and I have had before, on some level, it all comes down to awareness and choice. This whole arena of personal and professional development, to me, is about increasing people's awareness. It's making people aware of what they're doing now to create the results they're getting now, aware of what they'd like to have be a little bit different, and also aware of what they need to do differently, how they need to be differently in some cases in order to create those new results. Because I think we've all heard the expression, the definition of insanity, continuing to do the same thing and expecting a different result. If we identify something that we want different, we've got to actually be willing to be and do things differently. And I love what you said about, you know, some people are out there successful, they're selling you kind of a quick fix kind of an approach. And what I would tell people is, anyone who's selling you a quick fix, you know, be wary, because that really isn't the way it works. In most cases, I mean, I've seen people who make quantum leaps, you know, people who are new to this kind of work, people who are, you know, making a dramatic shift in their focus, whatever. They can take huge steps very quickly, and that's exciting and fun to work with. But my focus right now, I was actually trying to decide towards the end of last year, should I focus my attention on my speaking or my coaching or my consulting? Because I was feeling like I was spread out too thin. And what I finally realized was that my consulting work, the work I do with organizations, which is where I'm focusing now, is really a combination of my speaking and my coaching. Because if I go in and I just speak, but I don't do some sort of coaching and ongoing support to follow that up, it's rare that we really see ongoing and lasting results. So I actually call it facilitating. People, you know, what I'd love to be able to say, it's another word like manifesting. People don't really know exactly what it means, but honestly, that's what I do. I'm a facilitator. I go in, I work with groups of people and with individuals, and I facilitate them getting from where they are to really where they want to be. In most cases, that means going in and working with a group of people, getting them engaged in conversations and opening up to possibilities that they weren't engaged in or open to before, and then working with them in some sort of coaching or ongoing support capacity to start dealing with those hurdles that come up. Because the other thing about events and workshops or life-changing events is, you know, when the water cools down, when the high kind of comes back to earth, people are faced with, okay, now I'm back to my real life, and in order to make this happen, again, there are usually hurdles that need to be overcome.
Yeah, there's you kind of get that event high of being around those people in that event and that energy, and it's great. But when you're sitting in your office by yourself and the bills just arrived and you haven't figured out how you're going to pay for it, that real life just pops up. And are you still strong enough in your thoughts and your feelings and belief in yourself and where you're going that it's not going to turn those, what was a really positive feeling, back into a negative feeling because you got overwhelmed by X, Y, Z? That's really where the rubber hits the road, and that's really where the successful people differentiate themselves from the people who are less successful. Is they can stay, but they can hold on to that belief that what they're doing is going to work, that they're going to be good, that everything's going to work out. That's tough to do for some people.
Yeah, it is, and you know, to kind of bring it back to manifesting, you know, we're talking about getting help, we're talking about broadening our perspective, increasing our awareness, and I do think getting help is a really important part of this process of manifesting. Whatever we can do on our own, in general, we can do it. We can do more of it. We can do it more quickly and more easily if we're willing to ask for help. That could be a mentor. It could be an accountability partner. It could be a mastermind group. It could be a coach. It could be, you know, any number of ways to get that help we need. But it's a huge way to accelerate your results. And I really encourage people, like, you know, we were talking about, there's a lot of resources out there. There's a lot of people in this business now of helping people, you know, get to where they want to go and accomplish what they want to accomplish. And I would really strongly encourage people to be very picky and very choosy about who they align themselves with, who you have as your accountability partner, who you have as your coach, who you put in position to be your teachers, your mentors, your leaders. Because there's a lot of people out there who are making these big quick fix promises, and in many cases, if you kind of peel back the curtain and look, you'll see that people aren't delivering on those promises. And at the same time, I see, and again, through my associations with the Campfield organization, with the Transformational Leadership Council, I've had the opportunity to connect with some of the most remarkable people on the planet who truly are helping people change their lives and create the results and experiences they want. Those people are out there. But sometimes, like Sean called it, the shiny penny, sometimes what we see at first and what's really exciting and kind of really attractive, the loudest voice in the room, sometimes isn't the best resource for us. So aligning ourselves with the best possible help and support, I think, is critical.
Yeah, and it's part of the experience. It's part of the dynamic. It's part of discerning what you want. And I'm glad be selective on choosing the right coach, the right consultant, the right facilitator, and whatever it is that you're going to be choosing and pursuing. And I've had some conversation with some folks who have written some very successful books on how to create wealth. And we were joking about the fact that 90% of the people who have a book out there about how to create wealth created their wealth by selling the book about how to create wealth. And that's not saying that that's true for everyone. There's a lot of also people out there who have been extremely successful and then said, here's how I did it. And so there's that dynamic of, do you want to, like, if I want to learn real estate and things like that, I'm going to go study under I'll read what Donald Trump has to say about real estate, because the man's been fantastic at it. And that's just part of the dynamic of finding those right mentors, those right people. And it doesn't have to be big names like a Donald Trump. There's a lot of other people who have been successful, who know how to do this, who have facilitated, who have run major programs and helped thousands and thousands of people transform their lives through experiences. And yes, everybody knows the name Jack Canfield and maybe not the name Robert MacPhee, but it doesn't mean that those lives weren't changed because Robert was behind the scenes doing some of that work. And so there is that aspect of it. And I love the work that Jack does, and Jack's fantastic, but it's also fun kind of knowing that other person who helped design some of the behind the scenes aspects of it as well. And a lot of the people I know in the personal development world who are selling the solution, not the quick fix, but the long-term hurdle overcoming solutions, are people who at some point in their lives were the behind the scenes people for other folks in that field. And those people in the field started as behind the scenes field. And so that there is that it nurtures that concept for a lot of people, which is a lovely thing.
Well, that's a good way. We sit here and we say, be really discerning about who you're working with. I think kind of looking at someone's lineage and looking at the people that they have had the opportunity to work with and work for and learn from to create their own body of work is a really good way to kind of assess who you want to work with. I firmly believe there's not really any new content out there. I feel like my content has really just come from the people that I've worked with and learned from. It's my own unique spin. But I've been revisiting my Napoleon Hill work over the last couple of weeks. I'm a runner, and I always have something playing on the audio while I'm running. And I've had those old radio recordings of Napoleon Hill playing in the last couple of weeks. And it's good, fundamental, solid stuff, and it's good reminders for me. But that's part of my lineage. It's part of my source of the content that I teach, and it's a good way to kind of figure out who you want to work with. I also think it's interesting, as we're recording this, it's the end of January, and as we look at this whole manifesting conversation, so much of it is about creating the results that we want. And this is the time of year, and actually a few weeks ago was the time of year where people are really, really focused on identifying what it is they really want. Like, what's really important to me? What do I want more of in my life? What do I want less of in my life? New Year's resolutions, good yearly goals, all those types of things were happening. And yet now, as we approach the end of January, it's a real where the rubber meets the road kind of a moment. Because we can all look in the mirror and say, okay, I was setting my goals and setting my intentions, and I had high hopes and dreams. How am I doing? How are things going? Am I manifesting? Am I achieving mastery? Are things happening for me? Am I consistently in action? Am I getting out of my own way? How am I feeling? And are those results showing up for me? And to me, the end of January is even more valuable in this process than the beginning, because you can get caught up in the excitement of the beginning of January. But now is really an opportunity to pause and look in the mirror, and without judgment, without being hard on ourselves, just asking that question: how am I doing? Am I on track to be making more money? Am I on track to be reaching my health goals? Am I on track to be finding that relationship that I really want to be in? And just be really honest with yourself and say, if it's yes, then great. Keep doing what you're already doing. Do more of it. And if it's not, again, without judgment, the judgment is just another attachment that gets in the way. But ask yourself, what am I not doing? What do I need to be doing differently? And maybe it's a matter of getting help, or maybe it's a matter of taking a different action, or maybe it's a matter of having some sort of structure, whether it's, you know, a book and journal like this that you're using as a daily habit. Before we started the recording, Sean and I were talking about an app that I now have on my phone to track my daily habits. I have 5 or 6 things that I want to make sure that I'm doing every single day. And there's a little app that someone told me about that I can have on my phone, where I just, at the end of every day, I said, did I do this? Did I go for a run? Did I get to bed by 10:30? Did I meditate? Did I journal? You know, these are important things. They don't take a lot of time, but it's important for me to be doing just about every single day. And you know, if I am doing those things, chances are I'm moving in the direction that I want to go.
Yeah.
So just in terms of manifesting, it's a really powerful time of year to do a little gut check and not wait until December to see, hey, things didn't go quite the way I planned. Do it right now.
Yeah, and I do the same thing. I write up an email of, these are the tasks I'm going to do to move my business forward, and I send it to Robert, and I send it to another accountability partner. And then I'll usually send an email at the end of the day saying, here's what I accomplished. But what part of the reason for sending the secondary email isn't just to brag, hey, look how much I got done, but it's to, if I start seeing a pattern, that if I have the same thing on my list all week and I never got around to doing it, that's the thing I probably need to be doing. Who can relate to that? Yeah. And so it might be like, oh, that's great. I've done all of this passive marketing, but I haven't done any active marketing, or I never picked up the phone call and called that lead that I had, and it's been on my list to call that person 5 every day for the week, and I haven't done it. Clearly, I could have had time to do it, but I chose to add other things or focus on different parts of my list instead. And when I start seeing that pattern, then I can revisit, like, what's going on with me? What are my thoughts about this? How am I feeling about this? So then I can revisit and say, oh, I need to get, this is an attachment I have. What if they say no? What if what if they're interested, but I suck at closing the deal and I lose the sale on somebody who wanted my business? Whatever those attachments, that stuff that comes up for you is, when that's occurring to me, I have those moments where I can see those patterns that I'm avoiding and check in on what's going on with that. So it's that idea of the annual, like, here's my goals for the year, and checking in on that, but it's also doing that gut check of just on a weekly, daily basis. Where are those patterns happening that I'm not doing what I know I need to be doing? I have a new sheet that I'm using that does say, these are the things I should be doing every day, and I can look at it as well from there's personal, like going to the gym, eating healthy, those kind of things, but then there's also business. What do I need to do to move my business forward, and am I doing those things? And that's also where coaches, a lot of times, what I've noticed from a coaching, facilitating, consulting perspective is they don't even know what to put on that list. And that's a lot of our roles as coaches and consultants and facilitators is, okay, what is it that you need to be doing every day? You may not even know what to do, and so therefore that analysis paralysis, oh my God, I was told that I need to be, posting on Twitter 17 times a day at these times a day. Well, do you like Twitter? No, I hate Twitter. Okay, maybe it's not the right thing, even though. Does it work for you? No, it doesn't work, but they told me I need to post 17 times a day. Exactly, and so maybe that's not the right thing, but let's look at it and let's talk about, well, this seems good. This is what you're comfortable in. Do you have a business that's really image heavy? Do you always have new products with different images that are cycling through? Great, maybe Pinterest is the right way to do it for you, and that might be the social media platform to go on. Instead of trying to tweet all the time and just you can't keep up with it, it's not your role. Twitter's fabulous, and it can be a great business tool for the right person and the right business. Pinterest could be the right tool, but if you have nothing that's an image, if all you have to do is, sell a voice, Pinterest isn't going to do very well for you as a marketing tool. Facebook might be better for some folks. YouTube videos are great. Like, it all depends on you, your business, your needs, what your resources are, what you're comfortable with. I have a friend who's like, she's in that list of, like, in the rankings of things you're afraid of, there's death and there's public speaking. So going out and do presentations isn't what she should be doing for her business. There's a lot of other things she's really good at and she should be doing. She can bring in people who are better at public speaking to do the public speaking on the business's behalf for her. She doesn't have to be public face of the business, those kind of things, and knowing that and knowing how that needs to happen and making those choices make a difference.
Absolutely, and I think your example that I couldn't wait to raise my hand and say that I absolutely relate to about, you know, the things that we know we should be doing that carry over from day to day on our list. And I think it's a great example, one, because so many people can relate to it, and two, because, and I just had this experience not yesterday but the day before, because I'm away from home. I actually live in San Diego. I'm here in Northern California today. And I had that experience the day before I left of my entire to-do list getting wiped out. And I think we've all had that experience when we're going on vacation or we're going to be away on a trip or whatever it is, and we're approaching our list differently. Like putting it on tomorrow's list isn't an option because we're going to be traveling, or we're going to be away, or we're going to be on vacation, or we're going to be in a meeting or whatever. That option is taken away, so we handle it differently. And it's just, like, for me, it's always a good wake-up call to say, you know, if I approached every day as if I was going to be on vacation starting the next day, how much more would I get done? How much more productive would I be? And it has nothing to do with the number of things on my list. It has nothing to do with the weather or the number of interruptions I get. It has everything to do with my approach, my level of commitment to getting those things done. And again, it goes back to manifesting. It goes back to mastery. It goes back to the attitudes, beliefs, and approach that we have to getting things done and creating the results we want, which I believe is the single biggest factor that dictates whether it actually happens or not. Is, again, that face we see in the mirror every single morning.
Yeah, and we were even talking about the fact that we're sitting here in my office, and for a very long time I've always worked from home. And since moving into my office and having an office which is, what, 2-3 blocks away from where I live, I walk to work. It's very simple. But that's completely changed my level of productivity, because now I don't have those distractions at home. And it's not about family distractions and things like that. It's, did I do the dishes? Should I start a load of laundry? Oh, the laundry's done. Let me go fold the laundry. And you find other things to keep you from doing those things that you need to do. In my office, it's me, a computer, and, you know, 4 walls. That's about it. There's not much to this place. There's not a lot of distractions. Therefore, I'm much more productive, because if I know I'm going to sit here and I've got my to-do list, and it's that combination of I'm committing to getting this done today, and I don't have anything keeping me from doing those things today, I'm going to get them done, or I'm going to get a lot more done than I have in the past, because distractions are less. And I have to chuckle. I've been working on planning out my blog posts for the month of February for my site, and I wrote all those and got them all up and published them all, and I realized there's a couple things that probably would move my business like forward more effectively that I put off by doing the easy stuff, the thing I'm more comfortable with. And that was a piece of awareness too, is that doing those things that you're really comfortable with can be those distractions and keep you from doing the things that need to get done instead of the things that you enjoy getting done. So all of these are dynamics and pieces of this. But if you can be aware of what you're thinking about and how you're feeling about these things, and you're clear of what you want to get accomplished, how you want to get, like where you want to get there, not even necessarily how you want to get there. Because I've also learned I never know what the map is. Like, the map never works out. There's always a detour somewhere in there, and that's fine. But if I'm really clear on where I want to get to, I want 20 new clients this month. And I need to do these 10 things every day in order to get those 20 new clients. If I do those 10 things every day, those 20 new clients are going to show up, because that's just the way it works. I'm putting in the right actions. So it's not just about knowing where you want to get to, but also knowing how to get there. And that's where having, you know, consultants or coaches or facilitators is really important, I think, as well.
Yeah, and again, I think it's a good example, going back to that whole awareness and then choice model, that, you know, Sean's talking about an increased awareness of what's getting in his way. You know, that the things that are coming up that are the easier things to do are in some ways getting in his way, rather than getting to the things that are maybe a little bit more difficult. Sean was saying he and I are actually accountability partners right now, and one of the things, actually, this will be a public declaration of the request I was going to make of him privately, but I'm realizing in my own case, one of the things that gets in my way is I resist doing the things that I'm not sure either how to do, or I'm not sure what's going to be kind of the outcome. Like, if there's uncertainty, I resist that. Like, I want to do the things that I know how to do it, and I know it's going to happen. Like, you know, that would be great. But again, life doesn't work that way. And sometimes the most important things that I could be doing, the most high leverage, really difference-making activities are things that I've never done before, that I don't know how to do, that make me uncomfortable, that, you know, I'd really rather not do. So one of my requests, and I'll make it here publicly of Sean, is for him to ask me in terms of my accountability on a day-to-day basis, what did you do today that you had uncertainty about, that you know, you would rather have done something else that you knew how to do, but you knew that was more important, and you did it even though there was that uncertainty. So for me, that's the awareness piece, is being aware that that's part of what's getting in my way. The choice piece is to handle it differently, and the other piece that we talked about having help. You know, I can make that commitment to myself to do that, but there's something so much more powerful about saying to Sean, that's the issue that I'm faced with, that's the issue that I need help with, that's what I'm committed to do differently, knowing full well that I'm going to talk to Sean the next day and he's going to ask me whether I actually did it. Now all of a sudden the likelihood of me doing it goes up dramatically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and because a lot of us have that desire to please and make sure that we look good in front of other people. And so when you make that public declaration, you don't want to look bad in front of me when I ask you about that. What did you do? Oh, I didn't do anything that made me feel uncomfortable. Oh, really? Like, you're not going to want to have that. And maybe it happens once and that's fine, and that's reality. That's going to happen. But having that happen a couple times, it's going to eventually eat at you, and you're going to start to feel really uncomfortable about having them come up with yet another excuse for not doing that thing. And so it does help us all be more accountable and more successful. So I think this is important.
Yeah, and the good news about it is, you know, it is uncomfortable. And honestly, even before I said that, you know, I was going to talk to Sean about it, and, you know, declaring it, you know, in this open forum, kind of was going, are you sure you want to do that? But it's uncomfortable for me to do that, and yet at the same time, I know that by being willing to be uncomfortable, by being willing to do that, over time, it will become more comfortable. I know a lot of people that embrace uncertainty. They love uncertainty. They love to dive into the mess and swim around and see what comes out of it. That's not my hard wiring, but I know that by being willing to do that a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more, eventually it will become like the situation I was describing with my brothers. It just won't have as much energy. It'll still probably come up. I'll still, on some level, still prefer to do the things that, you know, I know how to do and that are comfortable and familiar for me. But it will just be, I know for a fact, it'll be so much easier after I just kind of flex that muscle for a while and get used to doing it.
And I think it comes back to the mastery concept. The more you're doing something, the more you're experiencing something, the better you get at it. And eventually you may realize that it's like, yes, I know how to do it. I'm not good at it. I don't like to do it. But you have clear awareness. It's no longer fear that's helping you discern what you feel you are or are not good at, but it is real life experience that helps you understand what you are and are not good at. And therefore, you can make wiser decisions about what you're going to ask other people to do for you, and that outsourcing and those kind of things.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can do this with the camera or not. But there's actually a model that I teach in the book and the journal, and it's about self-fulfilling prophecies and about comfort zones, and the fact that our results actually come from the actions that we take, and the actions that we take come from the thoughts that we think. And that a lot of the thoughts we're thinking actually come from our beliefs about who we really are. And the most important part, or one of the most important parts certainly of that model, is down on the bottom, where a comfort zone is actually defined by when our beliefs about who we are match the results that are showing up in our lives. So when I teach this to people who are trying to make changes and are trying to get out of their comfort zone, when they realize that comfort zone really is just a matter of their beliefs about who they are. I'm overweight, I'm out of shape, I don't like to exercise, are matching the results that show up. Like when I look in the mirror, I see somebody who's overweight and out of shape. That it all starts with changing your belief about who you are, changing that declaration. Like instead of saying I'm overweight and out of shape and don't like to exercise, it's saying I am an athlete. I am at my ideal body weight, whatever it is. And that makes most people very uncomfortable. But the beauty of making that declaration and then thinking differently, acting differently, and being willing to be patient until those new results show up, the good news is when the new results match the new belief about who you are, you've literally created a new comfort zone. And in terms of, again, the coaching that I do, the people that I work with, the people who have been stuck for a long time sometimes, this can be such a breakthrough for them because they realize they've been trying to set goals and take action and use hard work, lots of effort, lots of willpower, no fun, lots of stress, lots of anxiety, try harder, and it's not working. It doesn't, even if they do get the results, they don't last. And realizing that by changing our beliefs, doing the internal work, kind of, being willing to take on a little bit of that kind of woo-woo, manifesting our thoughts determine our results kind of approach, it really can make a fundamental difference. Although you still need to think differently and act differently in order to get the results. To this day, I have not found a shortcut where, we just, meditate our way and create that powerful image in our mind and we open our eyes and there it is. No, it doesn't work that way.
And honestly, that's good. Because if I just said, hey, everybody think of a pink elephant, my office cannot fit a pink elephant. So if we could just, I'm thinking of a pink elephant and all of a sudden we would actually have serious problems. There has to be some delay to be able to refine what that needs to look like before it's delivered to you. So that's an important piece.
Exactly.
And the other side of beliefs, we're helping somebody who was trying to lose weight, and what I told them is get rid of every mirror in your house for a month. Just put them all away. If you need one to put on makeup or whatever, that's fine. Just something for your face. But get rid of every other mirror. Don't look at how you're doing. Don't check. Don't weigh yourself. Don't do anything. Just go to the gym every day. Work out. Do what you're supposed to do. Because take the actions you need to take. Believe that you're going to be fit. Because if I look in the mirror every day while I'm working out, I'm not going to notice the change. And so I'm going to get stuck that, nothing's happening. I'm not looking any different. I'm not getting any help. And it's going to kick back that pattern of what I'm not or what I'm trying to not be. Where if I can get rid of something that triggers those beliefs, it can help make that new belief anchor itself more firmly because you're not getting reinforcement of the belief you're trying to get rid of. And so sometimes it needs to get that drastic where, beliefs are so ingrained in us that simple little things like looking in the mirror can trigger that belief, the old belief to come back. If you can find what's triggering those things and remove it, that also can help you as well. So there's lots of little pieces to this mastery, this manifesting, this creating the life that you want to have. But the basic equation and approach to it isn't really all that complex. There's a lot of pieces you have to understand, but it's a simple process to understand if you get it explained to you in a real simple way, which is why I love your book. So we are coming up towards the end of the Hangout, and I want to give people an opportunity. We've been sitting here talking about your book, what you do, who you are. How can people find a copy of your book?
Well, I've got one right here. No.
Excellent, thanks.
No, the simplest way is to go to my website, which is just my name. See if I can do this backwards. My name, .com, robertmacphee.com. There's a book page on that website if people are interested in getting the book and journal. The book is normally $14.95. The journal is $19.95. If you click on the image of the book, not the button that says buy here, but if you actually click on the image of the book, you can get the book and journal together as a set for only $20. It'll be signed and it'll come out of my office. So it gives people an incentive to get the book and the journal. I'm very passionate. You can tell I love to be in this conversation. I love the work I'm doing. I love to see the results that show up for my clients. But one of the things that's most disappointing to me is how many people get around this work and get excited about it but don't really implement it. That's the reason there's a journal that goes with the book. Is I don't want my book to become what's known as shelf help, where people buy it and they stick it on their shelf, but they never actually read it or do anything with it. So really want to encourage people to get the book and the journal, use them together, implement the work, get to that place of what we call inspired action. And again, if you just go to robertmacphee.com and go to the book page, click on the image of the book, it'll take you to a spot that'll have the order come out of my office, the book and the journal together, signed for $20.
Excellent. Any other last words or thoughts that you want to share with everyone before we wrap up today?
It's funny because you were talking about the weight loss in the mirror. First, I want to share like a little tip. I've been a runner my whole life, and it's one of the examples I use in my teaching about that model about beliefs and results. I have a very strong belief that I am healthy, that I'm healthy and fit, that I'm an athlete. And I believe that's probably the single biggest reason why, despite the fact that I get really busy and I travel and I'm surrounded by all sorts of, we're all surrounded by all sorts of just horrible foods. I've always been able to maintain my weight and stay really healthy, because if I'm not running, it actually goes contrary to my belief about who I am. And so I get back on track very quickly. If I'm not eating well, and sometimes I don't eat very well. Again, I'm traveling. I've got my secret Snickers bar in my briefcase here in case I get starving hungry. But in general, I eat really well. And if I'm not eating well, again, it's against my belief about who I really am. So I get back on track very quickly. And what I see is that that's the opposite of what so many people do. When they're exercising, it actually goes against their belief about themselves, about their I'm out of shape, I'm overweight belief. When they're eating horrible foods, it actually matches their belief about who they are, that they don't eat very well. And it also matches all the external influences that are trying to get us to eat those foods all the time. So it is really important to focus in on those beliefs as the core piece of manifesting, of creating mastery, of creating the results that we really, really want in our lives. And that question that's the first step of our manifesting approach, who am I, is perhaps the single most important question to make sure we're really, really clear on as part of this process.
Excellent. Well, thanks, Robert, for hanging out.
You're welcome.
Being in the hangout with me.
It's always fun, and actually to actually be here in person with Sean instead of just there on the screen is very cool. So
thank you guys for joining us. I hope you guys got a lot out of this. Check out his book and journal. I highly recommend getting both. They do work well together. I find them very effective, and we may actually have a little secret thing coming along in the near future where you can get even more assistance in making sure that you're implementing this. That's our afternoon discussion as soon as we're done here on the Hangout. So thank you all for joining us. Next week, we are going to do the topic of marketing for service providers and how that is unique and a little different than marketing for just your everyday folk, because service providers, what you're doing and how you do it is a little different. So you just need to be, we'll be talking about that next week, and I'll see you guys next week every Wednesday at noon Pacific. Cheers.
Bye-bye, everyone.